Good morning and welcome to Road Miles. I'm Nick Peters, and I'm coming to you live from the new RoadMiles Studio. And it's a recording space, a creation space, and an interview space that I've purpose built just for Road Miles. And if you look around, you can see that the walls are exactly like you've seen them in some of the digital backgrounds I've used in the past, except this time they're real. And they're acoustic panels that hopefully will bring that studio sound right into your ears. And if you're just listening to us on audio, you'll hopefully hear some improvements in the sound quality based on the recording technology that I've invested in and the learning curve that I'm still working to better understand how to produce the kind of audio experience that I think can hopefully be transformational when you're looking to listen to something and go deeper than you normally would. Part of the reason I created Road Miles and the reason I built this studio was because when I started listening to podcasts and I found inspiration hearing from people who use their voice, not just to tell a story, but to convey ideas that would motivate me, I realized that a big part of that experience was the sound itself. And of course, I'm doing video here today in order to reach across platforms and try to engage with everyone on different levels. But a year ago, when I launched Road Miles, one of the most surprising pieces of feedback that I started receiving immediately was people like listening to my voice and they wanted to hear me speak more. And I realized that, the voices that we use with each other on a daily basis are vastly different voices. And a lot of the time they are context specific. You'll use a certain voice with a child or a parent or a coworker, and you'll use another voice with your spouse. Of course, the inner voice that you hear both physically through your ears and in your brain while you're talking, that's another voice. Part of that goes to the horror that we all experience when we hear ourselves on a recording and we say out loud or to ourselves, that can't be what I sound like. So you can imagine that I had a little bit of disbelief and skepticism hearing that people actually wanted to listen to me speak. But here I am, and I'm very, very excited to be in the studio. And the reason I wanted to just take a few moments today, record this, and welcome you to RoadMiles Studios for the first time is because if I didn't do it today on an ad hoc basis, unplanned, unscripted, and just press the record button quite literally, I probably never would. And, well, I shouldn't say that. I would, but it would potentially take me weeks. If you're following Road Miles, you saw that recently I did a live run recorded version of the podcast, and I'm really looking forward to releasing that content soon. It's intended to be part 2 of Marathon Man, and it's going to trace the story of my second marathon and the differences between that experience and the first one I told you about in part 1. Some of my lessons learned and personal tips around training, overtraining, nutrition, fatigue management, but also the personal growth that came as a result of that. And some insights into how I achieved a personal best. But as I'm working through the edits to that content and also juggling a busy summer with family and friends and work at the day job, it occurred to me that it's important to not hold back on doing things that are important to do and keeping momentum just because stuff is in progress. And I think this speaks to the perfectionism tendency that I've hinted at many times on Road Miles. And I think hopefully it's something that some of you listening can relate to. The idea that you hold back on actually doing something and just doing the run or just pressing record because you want it to be perfect or near perfect and you're working at it. And you think that if you just hit record or post something without edits, that it won't be polished, it won't be professional. And that's a metaphor for a lot of the stuff we're doing in real life. And if you're practical about it, you realize that real life is live. There are no filters, there are no edits. Um, at best, real life is a FaceTime, a Zoom or a Teams or an in-person where people hear and see you and you can't just rewind and record over. And if that's what's happening in real life, why shouldn't that be what Road Miles reflects back? And so my thinking was, what a better way to introduce you to the studio, test the equipment, and just do a rough cut for myself than to make it an episode, even if it's a short one. So before I go further this morning, I'm going to start with a sip of coffee because you have to have coffee when you're recording Road Miles. But I also wanted to ask you, the listener, a question and invite feedback directly. First of all, please tell me if you've experienced this in your life, working on a personal project, something at work, or a priority with a family member. Reach out, Nick at roadmiles.live or on any of the social media channels or roadmiles.live. And share with me if and how you've overcome that block that you can get when you're ready to do something, or even if you just want to, but you feel you're not quite ready. That perfectionist mindset, that holding back, even a bit of that FOMO, that fear of missing out, directing your time, attention, and energy away from something else. And just to leave you with another personal example of that for me in practice here this morning, it's 7 a.m. local. I'm looking forward to getting a morning run in before I start the rest of my day and transition into the day job. And I have a full agenda, but I wanted to take this time and record this short episode just to condense my thoughts on this and try the equipment and see if I could share it with you. So in return, I'd love and would appreciate the gift of your feedback. Have you experienced the same thing? And if so, how? So thank you for sitting with me here for a brief introduction to the RoadMiles Studio. Hope it sounds good. I hope you like the look and feel. I love being in the space, and I'm really looking forward to sharing more with you soon here on the Road Miles podcast. Next for me, I think you'll hopefully enjoy the live run episode. I'm going to try to post as much of that unedited and unfiltered as I can, because the other lesson I'm learning in all of this is that edits can be great for condensing your content, but sometimes they rob the listener and the viewer of the authenticity of context and the core of your thoughts in the moment. So I'm going to try to do a little less editing going forward and get the content out. And my message to you on Road Miles today is try to do a little less editing in your own life. And the next time you're in a situation where you can feel yourself editing, remember, in this life, we really only get one take. So live every mile. I'm Nick Peters. This is Road Miles.